This is Kate at the Library of Whispers, and today I'm going to do some reading from this lovely vintage book. It's from the Enchanted World series, and this book is called Magical Justice. So, let's take a look inside. So we've got contents page. Chapter 1 is called The Code. Chapter 2, Fortune's Wheel. Chapter 3 is The Mediators. So let's begin with Chapter 1, The Code. There was a time when only a thin skin, unseen and frangible, separated the human realm from the abyss of evil. The pit where monsters lurked and demons cavorted was so close at hand that ordinary mortals could sometimes glimpse its shadows and inhale its poisonous vapours. Men and women dreaded the prospect of invasion by these forces of chaos. They craved order and harmony, a hierarchy wherein every entity, animal, vegetable, mineral or spiritual, knew its place and obligations. To protect the world from contamination, humans constructed a bulwark of laws governing every aspect of their existence. This code was a safety net woven of many different strands: native kindness and common sense, priestly interpretations of divine will, diktats devised by kings to keep themselves and their heirs in power, precepts dimly recalled from the days when elder races ruled the earth. Of far greater antiquity than ink or alphabets, the old laws were passed down through the speech of storytellers and the songs of bards. To inscribe these truths upon the minds of their hearers, the tale spinners concocted vivid narratives of reward and punishment. Often the chief players in these dramas were kings and queens. This was in part a cunning device to hold the listener's attention, for what commoner could resist the temptation to glimpse the wonders of treasury, wardrobe, and banqueting chamber concealed behind the castle walls? But such stories had a deeper purpose. They brought home the message that no one, however rich in land or absolute in temporal authority, was exempt from moral reckoning. Yet humble protagonists also had a place in the law. Their good deeds were gloriously recompensed. Peasants were showered with treasure, or elevated from a hovel to a palace. Marriage to a royal spouse was frequently part of the prize. For the wicked, however, penalties were harsh, ranging from public humiliation to agonizing death. Chilling though these tales of retribution might be, they provided their own consolation, for within their ambit, cruelty was origins of which were not certain, but my singer's kingdom was far away from Denmark, and much too poor to raise an army or a fleet. Yet Frodi did not share his subjects' contentment, a cankerworm of frustration gnawed at his vitals. Among his store of treasures was an object of inestimable value, a giant mill consisting of two vast grinding stones that was reputedly possessed of magic powers, but he could gain no profit or pleasure from it. Whether the millstones came to him as inheritance, gift, or spoil of battle was not recorded. According to rumour, they had been quarried in the other world and brought to this one on a wind conjured up by weather-working witches. Some claimed they were formed of the lava that poured down the slopes of grim Mount Hecla, the northern gate of hell. Whatever the truth, they were no ordinary quernstones. Instead of turning wheat or barley into meal, they were said to be capable of grinding out silver, gold, love, happiness, or anything their miller asked of them. But the stones were so heavy that neither Frodi nor the burliest of his earls was strong enough to turn the massive mill, so the device stood idle in Frodi's castle, accumulating dust and legends. Once Frodi made a voyage across the cold waters of the Skagerrak to pay a state visit to his cousin, the King of Sweden. Some of the Swedish lords' followers had lately gone a Viking, and Frodi was drinking mead at his cousin's side when they returned with all their booty. Among the spoils were two items that particularly attracted Frodi's attention: a pair of giantesses, more than 10 feet tall, erect as fir trees and broad as bulls. Their cropped hair and coarse tunics of undyed wool mark them as slaves, but their dark eyes glittered with unearthly light. Frodi marvelled at their well-muscled bulk. If they were not strong enough to turn his magic mill, then nothing was. The Swedish king, turned maudlin and benevolent by too much mead, offered to make Frodi a gift of the goods that so attracted him, and observed with a wink that his Danish cousin had an eccentric taste in women. Frodi accepted the present with a fulsome speech of gratitude. Then he announced with a fine semblance of regret that affairs of state forced him to cut short his visit. That night the giantesses named Menia and Fenia were bundled into Frodi's own dragon-proud longship, and the convoy sailed. When they landed in Denmark, Frodi led the slaves directly to the massive millstones. Without letting them rest from their journey, or offering them so much as a morsel of barley bread to eat, he ordered them to start grinding. Well schooled in obedience, the women began without complaint, just as Frodi had hoped. They were able to do what no one else in his court had done. Sweating and straining, they grasped the stones, pressed their considerable weight against them, and soon they succeeded in turning the enormous rollers. To Frodi's delight, out came all manner of good things for himself and his people: peace, prosperity, fine weather, and wealth in endless supply. The more the giantesses produced, the more Frodi wanted. For months he neglected all affairs of state. No edicts were issued by his scribes, no wrongdoers were dragged asked again to be allowed a respite. Frodi smiled and said they might stop their labours when the birds stopped singing. But it was the season of nearly endless daylight, the northern summer, and the bird song never ended. Once more they begged for a rest. Perhaps because they had been born and bred to slavery, Mania and Fenia were incapable of outright rebellion. The life and wealth of all the realms in the Northlands depended on the docility of a vast brigade of slaves and bondmen who stoked the fires, toiled in the fields, spun the yarn and nursed the children. The notion that slaves might defy orders had no means of forming in minds that had been shaped for only one thing, submission, and the two giantesses were no exception, but anger was not beyond them. The witch light flickered in their eyes as the same thought came to them at once. If their master wanted them to grind, then grind they must, but they would grind what they pleased. The heavy quern turned slowly, and the ponderous millstones grated against one another, but no longer did they turn out gold and worldly goods. Now Mania and Fenia milled horrors, poverty, pestilence, misery, weapons, war, grief and famine. The two giantesses ground out the plagues that killed sheep and cattle, illnesses that laid low men, violent quarrels that ended with the flash of a knife and a geyser of blood. Drafts from the quern cracked the skin of the Danish earth, floods covered it, fires glowed dully where barns and houses burned of their own accord, and the keening of mourners at 1,000 funerals ululated throughout the land. When the king cried out to his two slave women to stop, the rumble and thunder of their milling drowned out his commands. They were not disobedient, they simply could not hear him. Then Mania and Fenia ground out a fleet of enemy warships. These were craft built to terrorize peaceable shore dwellers. Their prows were carved in the form of roaring lions, their sails dyed the colour of blood. Rows of spiky oars like the poisonous spines of sea urchins thrust out from their sides. To the wonder and puzzlement of the inhabitants, these ships materialized in all the harbours and havens of the kingdom, ruled by Mysinga, Frodi's old enemy. The tale did not explain how Mysinga knew the purpose of this mysterious gift, but he had long been dreaming of the day when he might strike out against the complacent Frodi. He may have felt the warships were the answer to a lifetime of prayers. He may have known of some prophecy written on runestones that said his moment of glory would come. Mysinga marshalled his men, calling them away from their stony, infertile fields and their profitless fishing, and stirred them to battle. Bards, at the king's behest, spoke the words of the saga that had preserved of all time the old hates between Frodi's and Mysinga's clans. Then they sang the songs that conjured bloodlust. Hands that had only known the plough or tiller itched for the sword, the spear, and the skull-cleaving axe. Speeded on by favourable winds that the giantesses ground out, the fleet came in good time to Frodi's shore. Under cover of a dense night fog, also the work of the angry millers, the enemy army landed and swooped in a sneak attack. Many Danes were slaughtered in their beds, many fell fighting. The few survivors were chained up and taken away to be sold as slaves. Frodi himself was struck down by the hand of Mysinga and died an agonizing death with the sign of the blood eagle hewn out of his back. While Mysinga's men ran chances of his triumph. Perhaps he saw the shadows of a flashing battle axe or a burning village. Emerging from the mill, he announced himself as their new master and commanded them to cease milling. Beaming, they stopped their toil and showered him with thanks. Here was a merciful owner who knew that even slaves needed rest. My singer questioned them at length about the powers of the magic mill. Then he bade them roll their great stones to the sturdiest ship in his fleet. Mania and Vania were not allowed to enjoy their leisure for long. Once the galleys put out to sea again, my singer decided that he too would use the mill to gain his heart's desire. He was not a wicked king. His first thought was of his country's welfare, and the greatest woe in his land was the lack of salt. Without salt, food gathered in the warm months could not be preserved of the winter. As a result, many families died of starvation. So he ordered Mania and Vania to set to work again, there on the high seas. Blessing this new master, who had freed them from the impossible demands of Frodi, the giantesses returned to work with a will. Yet soon they grew tired and asked my singer to let them rest. The king berated them. Had they any idea of the privations caused by the absence of salt? Did they know what it meant to see good fish and flesh rot because there was no way to preserve it? Had they any notion of how his people suffered? Mania and Vania shrugged and turned again to their labour. If their new owner wanted salt, then salt he would get. The mill moved under their powerful hands, and the slaves began to grind with an uncanny speed. Within moments, out came enough salt to preserve all the herrings caught in a year, enough salt to pickle all the rabbit and venison and pig meat on the land, enough salt to weigh down my singer's flagship, break its timbers, and sink it in the cold grey depths. Without a word of rebellion, Mania and Vania followed their new lord's orders, and in doing so, sent him down to lie forever on the ocean bed, where his bones turned pearly and his head was crowned with seaweed. When the galley sank, so did Mania and Vania, still rotating the mill as the waves closed over their heads. They did what slaves were meant to do. They would work until their master ordered them to stop. But my singer was far beyond speaking, and the order never came. The Norse bards said that their mill ground on forever, which was how the waters of all the seas became salt. So in this picture we can see Mania and Vania continuing to work underwater. Even when the millstone sank to the bottom of the sea, endlessly turning, they ground out the salt that filled the world's oceans. So this is another story, a harsh payment in kind. In the wilderness of Scandinavia lived peoples divided from their neighbours by mountains, forests, and deep fjords. This was a land abounding in shape-shifting phantoms, and ordinary folk kept themselves to themselves, knowing it was best not to put too much trust in appearances. Once, the populace of an entire kingdom learned this hard lesson softly as she did her tasks, whispering into the wind, tracing runic symbols on the empty air, sculpting wax images and flinging them into the tall, tiled stove. Sometimes she vanished for long periods, inexplicably. The child dwelled placidly inside a thicket of rules and restrictions. Certain rooms were out of bounds, certain words were forbidden. But as she grew up, she began to chafe against these prohibitions. One day, her foster mother announced that she was going on a long journey. As always, she forbade the girl to open the 3 doors on the top story. But this time, the fosterling rebelled. She began to wonder what secrets her guardian wished to keep from her. She paced back and forth before the doors 100 times, then impulsively opened one. With a rush of wind and a flash of light, a shooting star escaped, skittered down the twisting corridor and vanished into the night. Terrified, the girl banged the door shut. Bent double with cramps, she awaited her guardian's return. Once home, the foster mother knew without asking what had happened. She made the girl's ears ring with a severe scolding. When the time came for another journey, she raised an admonitory finger and said only, "Once warned." Alone again, the girl decided that a scolding was a small price to pay for satisfying her curiosity. When she opened the second door, a great white moon rolled out, then melted into the empty air. When the foster mother returned, her face was as pale as the missing moon, but she said nothing until mysterious business called her from home again. She pointed towards the banned portals, murmured the words, "Twice warned," and was gone. The girl's fingers itched to grasp the cut crystal doorknob of the 3rd room. Moments after her guardian's departure, she pushed the 3rd door open. A golden orb, so hot and bright it could only be the sun, exploded in her face and disappeared in a shower of hissing sparks. Its fiery after-image was still glowing inside her eyelids when she felt a sharp tap on her shoulder. The old woman was back. "Thrice warned," she hissed, grim-faced. She lamented the loss of her treasures, last relics of a world of glory that lay beyond the ken of mortals. There was only one fitting punishment. Raising her voice in an uncanny howl, she sang the maiden's speech away and sent her out into the world, a silent traveller. But before the girl had walked many miles, she met a young king out hunting deer. Smitten by her beauty and undeterred by her mysterious muteness, he asked her to be his queen. King though he might have been, his wooing was like any other man's. It was not the manner of their marriage, but its outcome that made the tale so remarkable. The monarch's mother was appalled by the match and hinted that the maid had something sinister about her. When the royal couple's first child was born, the Queen Mother's suspicions seemed to be confirmed, for on its first day of life, the baby disappeared. The only trace was a blood stain on the young queen's mouth, a sure sign of sorcery. It was well known that witches craved the flesh of human infants. The queen, unable to speak in her own defence, could tell no one what had happened. The king refused to believe that his wife had eaten their firstborn and insisted that it had been stolen by some enemy of the crown. When a second child was awaited, he ordered dozens of guards to patrol the palace to watch over the newborn heir. After she gave birth, the queen heard a strange high state.